Welcome back to the Movement Boss Podcast. Joe Aguirre and Karin Ravelise. She is the Movement Boss, and I'm very excited for today's episode. You know, we spend a lot of time talking about athletics, and you weren't a huge baseball fan before you and I got to be friends.
No,
and
really.
And now you're very involved and very invested in it because you are finding, and it's so interesting because we're going to talk about a lot of baseball players today and different injuries that they've suffered. And I could probably tell you the story behind every one of those injuries because it's some of them are like baseball lore.
That's cool. And you know what really wanted me to kind of go down this little rabbit hole was because the past couple episodes, we were talking about, remember, proper breathing, making sure that you have good, movement through the rib cage and things like that. And we did talk about sneezing. I think we talked about sneezing being like a sharp exhale.
Yep.
People blowing out their back for having a sneeze and things like that. So I said to myself, well, let me just look and see who. I forgot how. I don't know if we started specifically talking about a baseball player that we knew did. There was a reason why it must have got me looking it up. So I did, and that's where we ended up with a couple gentlemen on the list for tonight. But one in particular we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Colby Rasmus. And you messaged me the other day and you said, do you know who Colby Rasmus is? And I do. Of course I do. Now, Colby Rasmus, for anybody who is a baseball fan, you know him best from the Toronto Blue Jays. He was on the 2014 St. Louis Cardinals that won the World Series. And I don't think he actually was on the team by the end of the season. I think he had been traded, but he did get a World Series ring because he was with that team. Anyway, signed a big contract and had his best years with Toronto. Originally, this guy actually broke Bo Jackson's high school records.
Wow.
He was supposed to be what's called a 5-tool player. That means they hit for average, they hit for power, they're defensively inclined, they have speed, and I'm forgetting what the 5th tool is, but it's like the best kind of player, the most well-rounded player you could be is considered the 5-tool guy. Colby Rasmus was a 5-tool guy, and he was projected to be a superstar. And much like we talked about in our last episode, Steven Strasburg, another guy who was considered generational talent, and when he was on, was one of the best in the game. Unfortunately, he was off a lot because he was hurt. And Colby Rasmus, and it's funny, I want to say Corey Rasmus because he has a brother.
That's right. He has a couple brothers.
And Casey is his other brother who played in this Cincinnati Reds organization. Yeah, that's pretty amazing, too. An entire family of brothers all made it to the major leagues, like the DiMaggios. Anyway, Colby Rasmus, I keep wanting to say Corey because he played for the Red Sox, and I saw him a lot more. But anyway, Colby never quite made it, and God almighty, a lot of injuries, but the sneeze was the beginning of the end.
Well, actually, that was in 2013 that he had the sneeze, but what happened before that is he went to check what do you call it? Swing, or what do you
check swing? Yep.
Check your swing or something. So that's where he said he felt it. And then I guess a couple of days later, he had a big violent sneeze, and that's when boom, he had the oblique strain from that. So it was essentially the sneeze. So he was already vulnerable, and the sneeze just kind of threw him over the edge. But what I did want to mention, though, prior to that, and when I was looking through his injuries, in 2009, he had a hiatal hernia. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about that because the diaphragm, the thoracic diaphragm, actually has holes in it. They have hiatuses in it. And one of the holes, or the hiatuses, actually has the esophagus that goes through it. So that has things to do with, the thing with the hiatal hernia is it's just with the pressure. Like he maybe just had too much pressure building up there and stuff. And it's not just so much just the diaphragm by itself, but the fact that the esophagus is there, and also was reporting that he had like some stomach issues and things like that. So that could have been, due to diet and things. But if you're also like not able to, like I was saying before, with the rib cage, not able to get a good quality breath in, the diaphragm's not able to go through its proper ranges of motions and things like that, that can also just cause you to get an oblique strain. He also had a lot of hip injuries. He had like a lot of hip tightness, hip flexor strain.
Yeah.
I really wanted to, that's why I wanted to kind of bring him in, because it is all on the left side. And here's the thing with the diaphragm. So like if you have like a hiatal hernia, sometimes some of the stomach can kind of come up. And a lot of this is positioned on the left side. So I thought it was interesting that he had everything on the left side. He had the left oblique strain. He had the left hip flexor strain. He had, you know, like a hip hip thing. It was all on his left. So it just makes me, I just found it very interesting that maybe he did have like a stability leak on that left side. And, you know, maybe it started from a diaphragm that just wasn't able to just kind of go through its proper range of motion. You saw it kind of go down the line with the oblique, and it trickled itself into the hip.
Do we have a picture, by the way, of the what is that? Oh, is that the picture of the sports hernia?
Yeah, that's what I actually got up. I saw that. I had a couple pictures of these things, and I just wanted to show so you can kind of see how the relationship is there. Like you can see the abdominal muscles, right? You see how they're kind of coming in, they're connecting to the pubic bone. And then you also have, you know, like the adductors, you know, the groin. So everybody's like, I'll say, oh, groin injury, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you have the hip flexors that are a little bit more off to the side there. So you can see if you start to lose like intra-abdominal pressure and you're not able to really manage that properly through proper breathing mechanics, you will be, you know, you're going to put yourself in a position where you can cause a problem with your hip, because if you don't feel supported, your hip may jam in the socket, and there you have it.
This is one of the things that I've become fascinated by in talking to you is, again, you know, the esophagus. What? Like, obviously all these things are connected. You mentioned, you know, Colby Rasmus had some stomach issues. Duh, right? I mean, again, it's all connected. And I don't think most people understand that at all.
Well, why would they? And the only reason that I'm understanding it is because I'm studying it, I'm interested in it, and I want to be able to recognize things if I have somebody come to me. And because that's actually one of the questions that I will ask on one of my intakes. I do ask if someone has like acid reflux, you know, the other diaphragmatic symptoms that somebody could have, type of thing, based off of just to see if there's tightness. So if you want to kind of call up that picture there of the diaphragm, I can show you exactly what I'm talking about really quick. If you see how there's different holes in the diaphragm, the one that's more, see where it says esophagus? Okay. That is the hole. So like imagine a tight diaphragm, right? And it's not able to drop, right? And then go back up, because it has to drop down when you inhale, and then it goes back up to its normal position when you're exhaling, right? So when you're exhaling, that's when the sneeze is going to happen, right? Okay. So the esophagus, if it's tight, it can put like a little bit of a chokehold on that, right? That's your food tube. So your digestion can be affected because of that. So it might, that's why I think it's also good too, like, and not to get off too much topic, but at some point I'd like to have my sister on here because she's a registered dietitian. And I think it's so important to have somebody that people could go to, or at least talk to, that if they do have an actual digestion issue, because you can have both, right? You can have a digestion issue and you can have a movement issue. So wouldn't it be nice if you can kind of target that together? I mean, you know, because they're not, sure, they're isolated events, but maybe they're not, right? Maybe your acid reflux or your digestion issues are contributed because your diaphragm's tight. And maybe when you're playing golf or you're doing your wiffle ball and you're noticing, hey, you're tight and all of that, maybe you even notice that you feel more like acid reflux when you're playing. That's possible.
Maybe boy, you've just given me a whole nother thing to think about, is how do I feel now physically while I'm out there struggling with backaches and things like that. Now I really got to think about that.
Well, don't think too much about it, because then you're going to drive yourself crazy.
Yeah.
I don't want you to do that. But it was just like, I wanted to bring it up because I thought it was like very interesting when I was reading his injury history, or just reading about him in general, because I do like to read about what's kind of going on with them, because I think it's relatable. I think it's going to be relatable to the average person. I mean, granted, they're professional athletes and stuff, right? But, and you and I have talked about this before, how many people that you know that are your friends, or even yourself, right? Even me too sometimes, right? You're doing stuff, you're playing, you love what you're doing, and maybe you get a little creak or a little injury type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear about these things that we're talking about, and you know these athletes, right? Because you love baseball.
Yep.
You start to think to yourself, wow, you know what? I wonder, could that be something that I might be struggling with? And maybe there's some things that I can do that I can help myself, type of thing. So that's why I really want to essentially get on here and just kind of create some awareness with people. That's all.
Yeah, I love that. That's so interesting. This literally is what is underneath your skin.
And as you can see too, Joe, not to interrupt you,
No, go ahead.
You see the that's obviously clearly the rib cage.
Yep.
Right. So the oblique muscles are on the rib cage. So can you imagine, right? Because you want your diaphragm to you want your rib, you want those muscles on the side of you to kind of go out when you inhale. Okay. So it's just kind of, remember, we're talking about the stretch potential when you're going back in your swing, and when you're going with the bat, and then obviously with the golf swing, same thing. And then when you go to follow through, like say, like you're going to do an exhale, that's going to kind of come back in, almost like I guess it'd be compared to the 6-pack thing when you go back in. So you really want to be able to have that go through its proper ranges of motion. You don't want to be stuck in one position over the other, because that's what's going to get you injured, especially when you go to lengthen it. And as we were talking last time about those other guys, they were going to the right. Now he's a left side. So left batter, and he's not a pitcher like the other guys are. So
correct.
He's Centerfield, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So he pitches left and he throws left. So what's going to happen is when he goes to follow through, right? Remember I was talking to you about, let's talk about the internal abdominal oblique. Okay. Because when he goes to the right on that's actually going to go on stretch, right? Because the external abdominal oblique, which is, think about like your shoulder movement, right? That's very powerful. That's your power. That's a left side. It goes to the opposite side. So that's going to go to the right. But then the other oblique is going to it goes to the same side. But when it's on stretch, it's going to the opposite. So, but that's when he's going to the opposite side, that's where he's probably putting himself more vulnerable, right? That's, I'm assuming. And it would make sense, right? Because it said that he, what's that term again? Why can't I think of it? I'm talking so fast here. Check swing, right? So he maybe he could, so kind of help me out with this, right? Isn't he kind of really like
I'll tell you right now, the check swing has caused many an oblique injury. And the other thing it tends to do on occasion is it tends to mess up the wrists pretty good. I've seen guys miss most of a season checking the swing, and they go too far with the wrist.
Interesting. Now, would you be talking about the opposite side wrist?
Yes.
Perfect, because this brings me to another thing. He actually injured his right wrist, and he injured his right shoulder. Okay. And his manager has been quoted to say, I have it written down, but he basically was saying that, oh, it's no big deal. It wasn't his pitching arm. Well, I do think it's a big deal, because your right shoulder is involved with your left hip, right? With that. And there's another picture I can have you call up so we can kind of make this make sense to everybody. That picture of that baseball player down at the bottom. So right shoulder, left hip, and vice versa.
Yep.
So that is important also. So it's like, you can't just say, oh, it's not important because it's not his pitching hand, but it sure is important, because if, say, your left hip is kind of like giving you a hard time, right? We already know he has a left hip problem.
Right.
That could very well leak into the opposite side shoulder, right? And then you're saying that, okay, say the oblique on the left, right? I'm just hypothetically playing this out for you, and you're telling me right here you notice it on the right side.
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely.
Can you, and it's okay if that's not what happens, but when you're doing this and you're playing yourself, or any of your friends that may be playing this, is that something that someone would experience? And granted, he's a lefty, but maybe if somebody's a righty, right?
So
they're going to have the opposite.
do you remember my first injury when we first started talking?
You always told me the left and the right.
So, right, I was swinging. Let me just take this down for a minute so people at home could watch. But I was swinging. I'm a right-handed batter.
Mhm.
Now, I do check my swings a lot. And in this particular case, I was what's called fighting off the pitch. I was just trying to get a piece of it
Mhm.
so I didn't strike out. And so I swung a little like kind of over my own shoulders, and it was very uncomfortable. And I was at a point where I couldn't check the swing. And so as I continue to go around, that's when I kind of hyperextended the shoulder or whatever. But right, that wasn't my regular fluid swing. It was it was sort of interrupted, and then I had to finish it, and that's what caused, again, from the right side, the injury to the left shoulder.
And we did find at one particular point, you and I, when we were kind of going through some of our assessments with you or screenings, that you did have that right side oblique.
Yeah. I find it fascinating that that Colby Rasmus's manager, also a professional athlete and a grown man, would say something like, it's his other shoulder, it doesn't matter. Again, it just, to me, highlights that most people really don't understand how the body works.
Here we go. I wrote this. Okay, so in February of 2023, so he had the sore right shoulder, and the manager has been quoted to say, non-throwing arm shoulder, no big deal. And basically the day-to-day, it was significant enough to keep him out of the game. So here's a guy, right, that's playing with some serious stuff. So we know that if he's taking some time off for the right shoulder, I'm going to probably guess that he was in some serious pain.
So
I don't think we're dealing with like
right after this podcast tonight, the New York Yankees are playing a possible elimination game against the Toronto Blue Jays. Which is why I'm going to bounce you out of here as soon as this podcast is over. But I want to mention a player on the Yankees.
Okay.
Guy by the name of Giancarlo Stanton, who's somebody else. I think you'd be Giancarlo Stanton.
Okay.
He is one of the great power hitters of this generation. Just hit his 450th career home run. He's 50 away from 500. That's Hall of Fame material we're talking about. This guy, his entire career, he's 6'7", like 245. I mean, jacked, muscles everywhere. He misses like half of every season with oblique, quad, all sort lat strains. He's constantly. This is a guy that works out a lot.
Is this both sides of the body? Or is it more one side?
I feel like it's more the left than the right.
Is he
with him?
Is he a lefty?
He's a right-handed hitter.
Okay, interesting. Be curious to see.
That's a guy I would love for you to, because again, when you talk about this guy, Karin, when he's healthy and playing, he's one of the best players in baseball. The problem is, generally speaking, he misses anywhere from a third to half of every season, and it's never, again, what I would say a big injury. Right? Even like break his leg or get hit in the head with a pitch, a lat strain. And you're like, how long is that going to be? 6 to 8 weeks. Jesus Christ. And then he goes on a rehab assignment and he comes back 3 months later. So kind of what I wanted to ask you is, again, with a lot of these oblique strains and the different strains, what's the best course of recovery? Is it resting it? Does that thing need to fully heal before you start stretching it, or what would you recommend? Or is this a terrible question?
I don't think it's a terrible question. And
I know, again, I'm sure it might vary person to person, but I what would be your initial course of action? Because sometimes I feel like this guy's out for it. It's like, really? Your oblique's messed up. How long could that possibly take to heal, especially when you always have it? And then I guess my follow-up is if you are like you have a strained oblique and it heals, is that area more prone or susceptible to re-injury?
Oh yeah, I would imagine it would be.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I
Because it
from what
seems
I
like it
understand,
becomes
yeah,
chronic problems for some people.
I believe that it is. I believe that there are a recurrence of that, especially if it's not addressed, right? If say the person just doesn't have the extensibility, they're not able to. Maybe they're stuck in that too short position all the time.
Yep.
Like it's tight. It's just too tight all the time. You can't get loose. You're not able to properly load it. You're not able to go. We basically say concentric and eccentric. Concentric means like a shortening, it's a contraction, and eccentric means that the muscles like in its lengthened position. So it's more like the relaxing position. So it has to be able to do both. It can't just really stay stuck. It's not good to stay in any position in a long way, right? You don't want to stay. Remember I was telling you about the 6-pack position?
Yep.
That would be kind of stuck in a short position. You're never going to be as powerful as you could possibly be if you can't take the muscle in the opposite direction. If you can't make it be short, I'm sorry, long.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and I mentioned to you last time in immaculate dissection, that saying that they have, and it is perfect. Never trust a 6-pack that doesn't go away on an inhale, because you're still stuck in that short position. And, when we were going through some of the coursework, when I was taking the coursework, and I remember the first time I took it in 2018, there was a guy that was there, and I believe he was one of the teaching team members, and he was a soccer player, I think, when he was younger. I'm pretty sure he was soccer, and he had a hernia. He ended up having, and he was because he was always stuck in a 6-pack, and he had even said that because we were using him as a little bit of a case study, and he specifically said the 6-pack in the back pain. And that's what he had, because he didn't have that extensibility to be able to shorten and lengthen properly. And it could be some of that. I mean, if you're going to keep re-injuring it, right? Or maybe you're stretching it and you're just stretching the one side, or you're just utilizing the one side, or you're on the wrong side. You know what I mean?
Here's the interesting thing too, right? So again, this guy is jacked. And he works out a lot. And so I almost think, to your point, right? I mean, I think he's got one of those 6-packs that doesn't go away on an exhale.
On an inhale.
Or an inhale. And I feel like
credit ID right there.
A couple of years ago, he spent an off season where he was like, I'm not going to pump iron this off season. I'm going to work on like aerobics or what do you call it?
Yoga, maybe?
No. Just like cardio, right? Just going to work on cardio and exercise and working with bands and not lifting weights, thinking, I think that, right, everything wouldn't be as tight. And he went into the season and it happened again.
Do you know who's his trainer or anything?
No, we could definitely look that up. I just thought it was interesting because I remember when I heard he wasn't going to pump iron, I thought, this guy's got to stop pumping iron because he keeps straining everything. And then he didn't work out and he still strained himself. So again, it makes me think he's just prone to, or has had so many of these injuries that I think they're recurrence. The other thing I wonder, and this is kind of what the first part of my question was, if you want to go way back to the first part of the question.
Sorry if I didn't answer it.
No, I asked like 8 parts to the first question because I have so many questions about this. Again, this idea of once you've sort of messed something up and you come back, I think some of these guys, you're out for 3 months and it's like, maybe 2 more weeks before you get back to baseball activities, and they just jump back into it 85%. And they're just going to kind of work their way back and work through it. And I think that's a terrible idea. And I think you're just setting yourself up to re-injure.
Sure, absolutely. And the thing about that is, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought, and I apologize about this. Oh, from what I understand is, I think fracturing the rib the oblique strain is actually worse.
Yeah.
Than fracturing the rib. and it can take a long time for it to heal. It can, and and there's different grades. I think there's like grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and things like that. So I would say that, obviously, I'm sure there's some kind of a medical professional involved in this, because I'm not a medical professional, but rehabbing it and stuff, start small. Like, you should do small ranges of motion, like within your capacity, but you got to retrain that back. Like, you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to go both ranges of motion, just, for all muscles. It should just be the obliques, but especially in a position where you're going to be, you're using that, like they're using this at full capacity, and, based off of which oblique it is, because that might not always be the internal abdominal oblique. It could be the external abdominal oblique, depending on what side it is and in what position it happened, because it's going to be more susceptible when the person is more in the lengthened position. So it really would just depend on what they're doing. Are they coming back here? Are they going this way? Where are they feeling it? Are they feeling it more here? Are they feeling it more up higher? So like that would give an indication as to, what would be the problem one, so to speak. And then from there, you just, really small ranges of motion, just really working within that person's capacity, because you don't want to overdo it. I mean, that's the last thing you want to do is fire that back up again. I mean, I strained an oblique one time.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I thought about this as I was going through this, doing a form. This was years ago. This was probably like 10 years ago. And I was not happy about it, because they really, like, you can't move. Like, Taekwondo is like baseball, right? I got to be able to move and kick, and when you're doing forms, you're going from side to side. And it's funny, because at the time I didn't know this, right? But I had an oblique discrepancy on my right. I'm a righty, okay? And it's interesting, because remembering this in retrospect, when I went to go to the left side, because a lot of times in a lot of these forms, you're going to the left side first,
Yeah.
right? So for me to violently go to the left, right? I won't say violently, but like, you're doing the movement, and you want to be fast, and you have to stop it.
Yeah.
So I had to go to the left with my right oblique, right? So that's going to the left. It's going in the opposite direction. It's putting it on stretch, and just too fast like that was just enough to, like, I felt it. I'm like, oh my God, it was awful. It's very painful. And, back in the day, like, I was like, oh no, I got to get back into this again. I cannot be out. I want to keep doing it. So of course I was, taking Advil, and that was like my thing back then. So I pretty much was able to kind of get it out of me fairly quickly.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not a professional athlete, and I was, kind of taking my time for a little bit, but it's painful, because like that's where you're moving, like that's your core, your upper body, not your upper body, but your center. So you're gonna feel it.
So before we wrap up here, again, Colby Rasmus, it's such an interesting profile on this guy. Again, a guy who was supposed to be a superstar, and again, when he was healthy, my goodness, this guy could hit. Now, we talked about the sneeze, which is why I wanted to kind of wind him down. And because there's been other guys who have had that exact same situation where they have sneezed.
Yep. Sammy Sosa. Sorry.
No,
You
it's
could tell
I know.
Okay.
Let me tell you a little bit about the Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa sneezed in the clubhouse and strained a muscle. Where's the muscle strain? Do you know?
I believe they said it was his back.
His back.
They said a ligament, which
pulled the ligament in his back. Now, this was interesting because Sammy Sosa was a superstar in baseball when this was going on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Normally when you get hurt and you come back from your injury, they send you to the minor leagues and they get you a few at-bats against minor league pitching.
Yep, I heard that. I saw that. I read that.
Sammy refused a minor league rehab assignment.
Really?
And he said, I'm ready to play baseball today. Sammy went 0 for 21 with, I believe, 19 strikeouts as he came back from that terrible sneezing injury. It was awful. He, for like a week, could not catch up to a baseball.
That's painful.
Yeah.
And who knows if it was even really his back and if it wasn't the oblique, because it wraps around to the back. So, I mean, not all the way around, but it does.
Yeah. Enough,
so, like,
right?
To me,
Enough.
like everybody that says, who knows if it was really technically his back, so I'm just saying, I mean, just again, speculating. Goose Gossage. Yes, he's another one.
Hall of Famer, former New York Yankee, one of my favorite players as a kid. The Goose, love this guy.
Mm-hmm. Who's the one that? I got it on here because I don't remember the names off the top of my head. But Galvin.
Tom Glavine.
Yeah, Glavine. Actually, this guy threw up. He fractured his ribs by vomiting on an airplane. So vomiting also is another sharp exhale.
Yep.
So these are things that we're all going to do, right? We're going to cough, we're going to sneeze, we're going to throw up from time to time. So it's kind of crazy thinking about that, but that's why this stuff is like so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always that one time that you leave yourself vulnerable, that you can throw your back out, get some oblique strains, whatever. It's just,
I threw my back out one time
with a sneeze.
I want to say probably I was sitting on my couch, and a buddy of mine was actually on his way over my house, and I was sitting on the couch. And I think I sneezed or hard coughed or something, and I was just still sitting there. And I was like, oh, I should get up because this dude's going to be here any minute. And I went to get up, and it was like somebody had put a magnet in my spine to the couch. I was like, that never happened to me before, right? And I'm like, oh, my God, why can't I get up? Eventually, I was able to roll myself over, and I fell on the floor. My buddy came to the door. He knocked. I was yelling for help. He didn't hear me.
Okay.
At one point, he looked into my living room bay window, and I was on the ground, literally like, help me.
Oh, man.
And he got in his car and he left.
No.
And my wife came home like 3 hours later, and I was on the floor. And
That's terrible.
Oh yeah, no, it was a terrible day.
Sometimes when you tweak, and then, just to, like, I know we're talking about the obliques, but with regards to like the low back, there's not a lot of rotation there. There's like maybe like 5 degrees of it, and it's hardly anything. It's not, you want to use your hip. The hip is the one that is got the big motion. So if you're not coordinating the hip, pelvis, low back together, because they got to kind of like do their little thing together as a unit. If too much of that's going through on the low back, that's where you can end up, really causing some serious problems, or just bending over, like, if you're twisting as you're bending over type of thing, so it's just not to make you crazy or anything, but that's where you could see maybe where somebody could run into a little problem.
Yeah. This podcast is for the weekend warrior, for the intramural master, for people who, again, Karin does martial arts. I golf. I play wiffle ball. I'm a big fan of pickup basketball. I used to play in a softball league. I got friends that are in soccer leagues. If you're in any of these sort of fun time fall or summer leagues, whatever your sport might be, and you've got injuries, or, towards the end of your round or game or whatever it is you're doing, you're in an unnecessary amount of pain or more than you can bear, or any, really, you should reach out and talk to Karin, because you're probably doing something wrong that's causing that. And it might be just the tiniest little fix that'll straighten you out. And I'm telling you, last week we talked to a fantastic guest,
Oh, Peter.
Peter, who I really appreciate Peter coming on and, sharing his experience. And again, I so was there with him. And it's, again, you helped him out. You helped me out. You've helped out a bunch of my friends and teammates and other guys in my wiffle ball league. I've had other people, softball players, another martial artist reached out and are very interested in working with somebody like you. I had somebody recently say to me, I didn't know they even had people like this. I've been looking for that. I didn't even know necessarily what I was looking for, but your friend is it.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Isn't
so
that
sweet.
awesome?
That is. It's so funny you said that. I love that, and I'm very grateful for what I've learned because I do credit that for that. I saw somebody that's in our networking group. I don't think you haven't met her yet, but she said that same thing to me. And I asked her maybe she could come on too, because this way she can talk about her business, because I also want that to be something as well. She was having a rib thing too. So it's just interesting that I think that it's a lot. I think things are common.
Yeah.
I think it's very common with people. And I think you could just make it better. It's not that anybody's doing anything wrong or bad. I think you can make things better for you.
When I say bad or wrong, let me take that back. I think what I mean to say is, right, because you and I have sort of worked through some of what my issues were. And when I say doing something wrong, like, for instance, we talked in last week's episode, when my lower back will start to hurt on the 14th hole, roughly. And I had not realized I did this. We talked about it. I'm like, I know I kind of brace myself, because I feel like at any point I'm going to hit that ball and there's going to be a sharp pain up my back. And I hate that. And what you and I noticed, and then it all came rushing back to me, is when I'm about to strike the ball and I think there's going to be pain in my back because I'm starting to feel it, I hold my breath. And that's only going to compound things. That's worse. So when I say doing, I mean, and again, in talking to Peter last week, and I know a lot of people do this, your left side starts to hurt. You start to overcompensate onto your right. That also will set you up for further injury, or really, again, you might, your left hurts, you're going to throw it off. Now your right's going to hurt as well. And I think so many people, Karin, and again, I love that we got people like Dan who could come on and talk about the fact that for years that they've done these sports, they've done these things for leisure and suffered through them with pain. Like, why? Pain's not part of the fun.
No, it's not. And too, like, this may be off topic. I mean, it is, but it isn't, kind of. I really want to bring this up because I think it's important. It's not like you have a relationship with somebody, right? Like, for example, like we can have a relationship like, hey, you get into a pickle again, we could talk about it.
Yep.
But for the most part, you're going to be on your way. You're going to be doing your thing type. Okay. And I want to give you an example. I had somebody come up to me, it was a couple weeks ago, and a meeting that I had, and they said to me, I'm really happy that we had an opportunity to work together. She goes, because I got into a car accident. And I'm like, really? I'm like, oh, wow. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. What happened is because she had been working on those things, and she said she didn't see it coming anyways, which was probably a good thing, but she didn't like brace.
Yep.
Because we went over that, right? Because this person had back spasms so bad that they could barely get up off the floor. So we really worked on a lot of these things. And then moving into these these stabilizing drills, and then building strength on it. And then I was showing the person some martial art movements too, not to teach you to move you up in rank or anything like that. But I'm a big advocate of that, because I believe that martial arts was designed for this. It's essentially the same thing, but higher up level, I would say. It's not basic movement, even though it is basic movement. But the person was able to not get injured in the actual car accident because they felt like they didn't brace, and they were just, I guess, had the strength and stability in the back. So it's about, where are you afterwards? What happens afterwards? Because like I want you to be able to, like, that was what happened for me. That's why I got involved in this, because I wanted answers for myself, because I felt like no one else could give me any answers. And then it wasn't until, like I had said to you at the beginning, my mentor who I met, and I started learning this stuff and training under her, and it was the best thing I ever did. And I feel like, taking the time and really trying to understand this stuff and putting it into my own body so I can make sense to someone else. Because what good is it if I can't relate on some level? Because I totally can relate to all of this stuff because I've had it too. I know right side, left side, shoulder, neck, not too much in the back, knock on wood.
Yep.
But for sure, it sucks. We talked about the TOS. We got to get back into talking about that because I kind of like that topic.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, again, I've the more we've been doing this podcast and the more I've talked to people, the more people I've learned have TOS. And again, it's one of those things you might not know it. So again, if you're in pain, we'll have all of Karin's contact info will be in the comments. How else can they hit you up? What's the best way to reach Karin?
Definitely via email at Karin@revoltandmove.com. Or what you can do is you can go on my website, and it's revoltandmove.com/get-started. And then what's going to happen is you're going to be prompted to a page that I just have a couple quick questions on there, and fill that out, and I can give you a call, and we could just have a conversation and just talk about some of the questions that you answered. Just like what obstacles are you having? How long have you been dealing with it? What have you done so far from a scale from like 1 to 10? How big of a problem is it for you? Things like that. So just, if you're feeling like you want to just, give me a call or an email just to chat about some stuff, I'll be happy to do that.
Now, I've got friends who see physical therapists, and I have friends that go see chiropractors every couple weeks or whatever. And I think for a lot of people, they think they call somebody like you and, they're your client for the next 5 years. You're not looking at it like that, Karin, right? And this is one of the cool things. Everybody that you've worked with in my sphere, you're not turning these people into clients. You're actually educating these people on things like stretching when you do your thing so that you don't have these issues, but sort of, there's these stretches and things that literally to isolate and work on the issue that you have. You're teaching so that they don't become reliant on someone to fix them, and I think that's what's so important. And that's kind of been some of the fun in doing this with you, is learning so much about the body. And again, in my wildest imagination would have never assumed that a hernia and your esophagus have anything to do with one another in any way, shape, or form. And I, again, think most people wouldn't. So you'll get educated, you'll understand your body a little bit better, and you'll be able to do things to help you enjoy your weekend leisures, maybe more than you currently are. That about right?
That's about right. And too, Joe, like I know you and I talked about this, and I'd like to get you, maybe at some point we'll do a couple more of those drills that we were doing last time. And maybe if anybody's even interested in, like, this would be something that I would be interested in doing if people were interested in it, is having like a class afterwards, like, and just like once a week meet, but be there, like if somebody's on the field or something.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Just like that would kind of be like your warm up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you would be doing like almost like, I don't know if you want to call it. You saw what it was. I don't know. How would you explain it? It's almost like an active stretch, but in the same time, you're kind of like strengthening like stabilizing yourself,
Yep.
right? Creating stability for yourself, and then moving into the activity. So right from there, after we did these couple exercises, I had you swing. Well, obviously you didn't swing the bat. You had my short stick, but you were swinging that. Now, doing all of that, going through the perturbation like we had, right? Just kind of seeing where you were falling apart the most in that given moment. And then giving you the little exercise, stretch, if you will, specific to you. And then moving into those like stabilizing, like strength building exercises. And then having you swing like you're going to go pitch or swing. How did you feel? Like, did you feel more connected, less connected? Did you feel more stronger?
Just
like
stronger, smoother, more stable. You know, I almost felt a little, let's say like jaggedy. You know what I mean? Like it didn't feel smooth. It almost felt like, you know, wherever the weakness was, I could sort of feel myself again overcompensating on the other side, you know. And I think even you were like pushing on things, right? And some things were much more stable than others. And again, you know, you don't think about something like your chin or whatever. Again, no, I know, right? Because again, the way everything is so connected, and again, you know, you're like, oh, my grip is great right here, and it's great right here. Go a little higher. Nope, not here. You would not know that, you know. A couple of things that really have stuck out to me. Again, my buddy Dan, who was on the show 2 weeks ago, is 53 years old. And after the first session you guys had, he had to pitch a very big game for us, and he was outstanding. And he said to me after the game, that is the best I have thrown in at least 5 years. And he later amended that statement and said, maybe in the last 20. So the other big thing, and I can't talk about this enough because Dan's a little bit of a prima donna, but he has a great amount of respect for the game. He doesn't like bat flipping. He doesn't like throwing bats and stuff like that. Dan had lost the handle on his bat a couple of times. And it was right after I met and was talking to Karin. And she was kind of working me through the shoulder issue that I was dealing with. And she asked if any of my teammates are and I immediately was like, you know what? My buddy Dan, I think he's got a grip problem because he keeps losing the handle on his bat, and he's not a bat thrower at all. Come to find out, he couldn't even open a pickle jar at home.
Yeah, the pasta jar. And you know what the thing about it is see, I'm gonna ask about this stuff because I know you guys you're overhead. It's an overhead athlete. You're gonna be more prone to it, right? So like my feelers are up. Like, I feel like I'm going to ask these crazy questions because I know they sound crazy to people, but they really are valid. They're legit. And it's almost like I said before, I would almost like to just screen everybody for it. I'll go down there with my dynamometer and test your grips from side to side and see what's going on, you know, just because it's important. You don't want to lose your grip. You really don't. Literally and figuratively.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, it really is so important. And again, it's one of those things where you don't know. You don't know until someone literally tests it.
Yeah.
I remember you asking me if I had grip problems and all. And I'm like, no, I don't think so.
I said, you got a second?
It's like, yeah. Oh, look at how grips.
Well, you know, too, is that usually what ends up happening is you're just going to, when you really start to know, it's when it's got pretty bad. And what ends up happening is the person's going to have like numbness and tingling in their hand. So
if you've got numbness or tingling in your hands, you've waited way too long already.
So you have, you could even have color changes in your hands too sometimes too. So it just really just depends because, you know, not to go on the TOS talk again, but you have the artery and vein that are like right here, major artery and veins that are pretty much in charge of the whole upper extremity. So, I mean, you know, it's not even about being weak either. I mean, you know, people sometimes like their kid, like that example, him losing the bat, but somebody throwing the ball and losing the ball, right? Or going off in a different projection that you want it to go off on. It doesn't mean that your skill is bad. It could be that you just don't have the neurology or the power to do it because you're cutting off the whole nerve supply in your neck.
Yeah.
And not only that, you're cutting off the blood supply too. So it's just just
Cutting off the blood supply. When you hear those words, it's like, oh my God. Like, this is some serious stuff. And again, it can easily be alleviated with a couple of little sessions, couple of movements and some stretches, and next thing you know, you're on your way. So again, I don't want to tell you what to do, but if I was going to tell you what to do, it would be call my friend Karin here.
Well, thanks, Joe.
Of course. Every week we do like to throw a little bit of love to our friends and colleagues out there as they're out there getting it done. You and I are both dear friends of Allison Gamber, who is the director of the Cove Center for Grieving Children. This is my favorite organization in Connecticut. I do a lot of work for them. Karin, you're actually going to come to this. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. And I'm going to be there, just being there for the runners. If they want to come before or after, just kind of give them like a free little mini session or talk to them, see what their major problems are. So it's not just about baseball. It's just any sport.
Oh, yeah. So, runners, too. We consider running sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if anybody wants to join, their link, we could put the link. Actually, that is the one for volunteers. So I think they're still looking for volunteers. So if anybody wants to volunteer.
Yeah. The Run for the Cove and Memorial Walks, that is at Hammonasset State Park on October the 19th.
Which is a Sunday.
And they are looking for volunteers.
Yeah, they're definitely looking for volunteers. And the what I can do too, Joe, I actually have it. I think I sent it to you. We could put that in the link. We can put it in the comment section, the actual link for people to check it out if they want to, and then they can sign up if they want to sign up for the actual 5K. So they can do that. And then the other one is if they want to volunteer. So if they want to volunteer, actually they could do both if they want. I don't know how they could do both.
I think I went to this thing last year, actually.
Do you think you want to go this year again?
October 19th,
as
long as I am available. I do have to do something on October 19th. I need to find out what time this is. I
think
it is a Sunday. I do know that because I do have a thing to do, but I could still probably make this. Like I said, I went last year. Joe Fury was there, my boy from News Channel 8. That's always fun to see my man Joe Fury. But it was a great time last year. So we'll put all the info in the link in the comment section, so you'll be able to check that out. And covect.org is the website. So if you're independently wealthy, it's a nonprofit, completely volunteer-based organization. If you want to make a large donation to them, you can do that at covect.org. But they do all sorts of cool fundraisers all throughout the year, including their really awesome golf tournament that I host, MC, and play in every year and really enjoy. And again, it's such a great organization.
It is. It really is.
My wife has done a bunch through her company to get grant money for the Cove Center for Grieving Children. My wife lost her father when she was 17.
Oh, yeah.
And was in a similar group to the Cove, and it was all the way down in Greenwich. And I don't think that one even still exists. And so when my wife met Allison and found out about the Cove Center for Grieving Children, she was like, I love that. And anything I can do, I want to do. And so we're both thrilled. And I know you are as well.
I do, because I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I lost my grandmother, my mother's mother, when I was 12. That was my great grandmother died like a week before her, but I was very, very close to my mother's mother. And that was like the first time I really experienced that kind of death. It was, we had gone to Mary's place in Windsor, and it was nice. It was helpful. So the Cove has a little spot in my heart too, because of it. I think it's a great thing, especially when you're a young person and you lose your family. And, even still, like I lost my dad 3 years ago, and I'm not a child anymore, but still
hurts.
Yeah, it still hurts,
Yeah.
So I think it's a great thing that she's doing.
Well, I think the other thing too is I think a lot of times when people grieve, I mean, people don't really know how to grieve necessarily, right? Every day's a little
Everybody's
something
different,
different, right? And I think to be around people, one of the cool things about the COVID, I've talked to Allison a lot about it because it's like, it's not a bunch of sad saps sitting around crying. It's meant to be uplifting and sharing the experience and just supporting each other because you're going through similar things. I love the COVID. I was like, I hope it's not all like doom and gloom. And Allison was like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah, no, she's not.
No,
doom
she's
and
great.
gloom
I'm
at
only
all.
kidding.
Yeah, she's really, I could, yeah, I think it's a really good thing. I think, I think it's a great thing that they're doing.
And I've had a chance to spend a time with a lot of the different people that run the Cove and work at the Cove and come up with the programs. And I got to tell you, getting to hang out with those people every year at the golf tournament and some of the other events, they're all amazing people. And it's such an excellent organization. CoveCT.org, again, is the website. And October 19th, they're going to be in Hammonasset for the Cove Walk 5K. So whatever you're into, we'd love to have you come on out and support the Cove.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Look at that. Another killer episode in the books.
Down. Another famous baseball player to talk about and over a sneeze, huh?
By the way, you also asked me about, I think, Steve Blass and who else you asked me about? Steve Sachs?
No.
You texted me the other day and you asked, these guys all had like mental blocks. It's in your text.
Oh, yes. They were trying to say that somebody had, who was it? What's his, how do you say his name?
Rick Ankiel?
Rajay Davis.
Oh, Rajay Davis, yes.
I think they might have said that he had it, or it was either him or Romero. I think they were trying to say that one of them had it. There was two of them. Tell me the first one it was. Oh God, who was it? What's the symptom that the blaze? Is that it?
It's okay. Bill Blass.
Blass.
Lost the ability to just throw the baseball.
Okay, yes. That was I'm not sure which one of those players that had that. Okay, that was that one. And then the other one was somebody who was just like so nerved up they couldn't even like throw the ball. So that was something that I was looking at too. Because
Rick Ankiel was the pitcher who he was a rookie. He was very good, got to the World Series and threw wild pitches, like 6 wild pitches or something like that. Basically just mentally lost it, stopped pitching, and came back a couple years later as a hitter, as an outfielder. Couldn't pitch anymore. He was done. Could no longer throw a ball over the plate.
Just makes you wonder, like, what's going on. Like, there's, like, who knows if it was really that. Like, I mean, it's just interesting just to hear these things and see these things come up as you're looking. As I was even looking through that, there was a couple of guys that they were carrying like water, one of them, and he lost the thing, like by he was carrying it and just like dropped out of his hand or something. So I was just like, oh, that's interesting too. It's kind of funny. It's this
grip problem.
But yeah, it's just kind of interesting where the pitchers are I didn't really see too many of them that I wasn't really looking for that because I kind of specifically was doing the TOS stuff, but it looked like the Centerfield ones were having more like the hip stuff. It seemed like a couple that I checked.
That's interesting too.
That were kind of consistent, but I don't know, Joe, you could probably speak to that more. I mean, you really follow these guys and what they're doing and stuff. So
I'm going to look more into that. I'm curious as to why that might be.
Is Rajay Davis, is he the one who actually hit Colby in the eye, or was it somebody else? Because didn't he get hit in the eye with one of the pitches?
Yes. I forgot who hit
Because it was
him.
I saw sources that said Goose, and then the other one said Rajay Davis. So I was like, I'm gonna have to ask you about that. You probably would know the answer to that question.
I don't remember.
Because sometimes you can't always trust what you read.
Yeah,
on the
right.
internet.
We'll have to look that
I'm
one
like,
up.
oh, that's Joe about that one. He'll probably know the real culprit.
I love that we're doing all this.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
I really do. I get such a kick out of this stuff.
It is funny because
it is so awesome.
Who would have thought? Who's next on the
Yeah,
hit
right.
list, so to speak.
Oh,
right?
It'll be somebody. It'll be somebody good. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week. I hope you got a lot out of this. I know I certainly did. And it's certainly been fun to kind of learn all this. And if you have any questions, again, all of Karin's information will be in the comments on whatever platform you are checking us out on. We do appreciate you spending your Tuesday evening with us. For the Movement Boss, Karin Ravelise, I'm Joe Aguirre. We'll catch you next week.
Have a good night, everyone.
On the Movement Boss Podcast.
Right.